To me? Can I eat it? Your heart? Lol 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 lol. Bibu, yes, she did a Giat version. We behaving, yes. I even asked for permission to stream. Mom told me to not do it long. But yeah, lulalolo. Hi, voice. Analith said sight. Analith said sigh. Lola lolo bro can't write like that for real for real. Lola lol. Anime type of shit. Lola lolo. Okay, enough silly. Sure, if I want to. Guys, you should be more careful with your heart. What's that? I can eat it just like that? No way. Hello, Bixby. Left or right? Why no both? Analith is going in a crazy grandpa ramp. Lololo. What is that about? You weren't born that I was already using it, lololol? Okay, grandpa. The elder card. Oh sorry, you can have my bus sit lol. No one sits on Onolith grandpa sit lololo. Okay, I will stop this bullying. Yeah, gotta be nice to older people. But yeah, my brodas, today is Friday. How's the day treating you? Or night? I waked up and fight with myself. Lolololo. I was all epi. What about you? Is funny voice lol. Better than yesterday, that's nice. I hope all days are better for you so you can just call it a day. That's my Riz. By the way. Lola lola lolo. Busy and tired, please don't forget to drink water. And rest a little. Rebecca Black Day? Sorry, who? Stewing. Shocked face. You are misbehaving, Mellow, please be careful. I don't want any problems for my brodas. Don't worry, have a safe lurk, Moppy, thanks for being here. Drink sand? Drink sand? Drink sand? Drink sand? Huh. Huh.
Hoof. Huh.
Huh. It's that a drink and I'm being confused. Or IDK? I don't know. My bad. But yeah, my brodas, today we are reunited in this reunion. Lololo. Excuse the redundancy. Lolololo. But isn't this a reunited reunion? Lololo. Hey Pallid, welcome. Gems is fooling me? How dare you, human? Sand? No comments on sand. Have not interact with it enough. To say something about sand. I know is on beaches. And is yellow? This is a streaming stream. Stop. They're not going to screw me over with my own words. No. This is a streaming stream, yes sir. Lol. It can be volcanic? Then sand has lots of different sands. Basically the sand is sanding. Prequels. Are seconds and I am always first. Ololololo. Okay, without shit, I have seen sequels. But what with it? I don't see the connection between what we're talking about. Explain. My baka yarrow brain can't handle. Ah. Yes, I'm never ever gonna be followed anymore. Followed, I mean fooled. Iceland has black sand. I guess is cool. Send is sending, so sand is sanding. Come on, is not rocket science. Lolalol. Why, all of those are cat options. Can I have something for like a vampire like me? Lalal palette.
Wow.
Poop.
Okay, nice jump scare. Annalith, thanks you so much. A quote from Anakin Skywalker, please Grandpa, time for your meds. It's hard to keep Grandpa in his room. Rhoda quotes Star Wars. I wish I could pin multiple stuff. Lol. Sandpaper is not sand. What else? Water cups don't have water. My bad, I am stupid, lol. Bowl of blood. I only want top tier processed blood. Ace don't take his meds, no wonder why. Okay, I am kidding. Young folks? Who says folks? Every time I hear in media folks is like medieval type of shit for me. Lol. Milk spiked with blood? Do you think vampires can drink milk? We are lactose intolerant. How rude from you. How dare this humans? Hello, Mad Jack. Stop quoting Star Wars, lol. This grandpa's. Baby powder don't have babies on it? Just call it powder then.
Wow.
Mad Jack thanks you so much. Pineapples don't have apples? What a lie. Where is consumer protection? Cute game for free at Epic. Nisu. I am not a cat pallid, I am just in fact a vampire. Is not fair. Hey, you are hammering me more to the ground. Ouch. Now I can't get out of this hole. Help. Lola lololo. Vampire try weakness? Vampire true weakness? This humans are thinking they are too much for even think about it. My species don't have a weakness. Retract Mad Jack. Or I will. I will do something, but right now I can't come to something on my mind. Ecologically raised baby? WTF lololol. So you know you gotta raise the baby ecologically for make ecologic baby powder. I get it. So smart. "77 tears old who said tears lol." I am 9,034,384 bullets old then. Lololo. Ace is a turtle in Baldur's Lolol. Too much carrying. Wait, what ananas? What do you mean other parts of the world call pineapple ananas? I'm confused. Fang implants? How dare you? Nian spell stop watching too much anime. I don't like boxes, but I do like to bite stuff. Keep talking. Organic baby will be my artist name. Lolalol. No industry plant shit, only organic baby. Water and baby powder and bake it and boom, you have a baby. I get it. Of course. We all born like that, dummy. In Francis. In France. Is a nana. This minions. Lololo. In Spanish is only piña.
Piña.
My brodas, today we have some nice videos. Talking about grandpas like you. Is kinda related. El ananas. is about what searching the web was like before Google. I wanna know in what you use to search. Lol. So yeah, my brodas is video time. Get your snackos or whatever you want. I have the most finest fresh water here. Just milked from a mountain. Fresh water. But yeah, my brodas. I hope y'all had a not so stressful week. Is the start of the weekend. So let's enjoy your chill time together. So that being said, let's start. Look, I will explain this just once. You milk a cow, you get milk. You milk a mountain, you get water, duh. This humans could never understand.
And advanced capabilities of the internet has certainly led us to take very mundane things for The incredibly flexible and advanced capabilities of the internet has certainly led us to take very mundane things for granted now. Arguably one of the greatest examples of this is our ability to Google something, to search for virtually anything we want on the internet at any time from almost any place around the world. In fact, Google accounts for over 90% of internet traffic today. In this regard, we are in a much more privileged position than our recent ancestors, because of course it wasn't always this way. But the archaic means of obtaining information on the internet back in the 90s is something to be thanked, because they serve as the building blocks for the amazing tools that we have today. They've taught us what to do and what not to do when putting together a more than capable search engine. Now, obviously, Google was not the first search engine, by any means. But before it came along, things were quite different, even if it didn't seem that way at face value. The technological bottlenecks of these early search tools wasn't the only issue. It was also an industry full of competition and business politics that created a sort of arms race for who could triumph as the leading internet search provider. And today, we're going to talk about what searching on the internet was like before Google came along, and what advantages Google had at its disposal to go from underdog to practically owning the World Wide Web. Let's go back to the beginning, in around the 1980s. Obviously, the internet at this time was structured and appeared very differently compared to now. This was before the World Wide Web even existed. Yes, although we semantically use these terms interchangeably, the World Wide Web and the internet are different things. I have talked about this in detail many times before, but the internet is the actual infrastructure of computers connected to each other that make communication possible, while the World Wide Web is more or less software that makes the information easy for everyday people like you and me to understand. But at this time, things weren't so user-friendly. The internet was kind of ugly and was just complicated code that was shown on a terminal. If you wanted to navigate to a certain part of the internet, you needed to enter some really long address that was hard to remember. It was all over the place. If you didn't know what you were doing, it was kind of a disorganized mess. This exact issue was actually often a turnoff for everyday people for even seeing the internet as a worthwhile technology. McGill University in Montreal had these exact sentiments, and they needed to do something to make the internet more appealing and tolerable to use. Well, a grad student named Alan Emtage had the task of finding files online that students would find useful. Luckily, there were a few servers that would publicly advertise their existence, and naturally, were the most popular ones on the internet at that time. So that gave Emtage a starting point for where to look for these files, and he basically had to create a list of these files and the names that they had. Obviously, this was a lot of work, so he decided to create a script that scraped all these files from these servers for him. It was a lot less tedious, and it also made this list a lot bigger in a smaller amount of time. It was also updated once a month to include new information. But then Emtage realized, instead of posting this really long list of files and how to obtain them, he could just create a program where people could type in certain keywords and it would find the files that contain said words in their file names. So he did just that. With a little help from his friends, he created Archie, which stood for archive but without the V. It was far from perfect, but it found to be incredibly useful for its time, and was deemed the internet's first official search engine. As long as you worked within the program search parameters, you could find a picture of Bill Clinton within minutes. Archie's technology relied on something called the File Transfer Protocol, or FTP for short, which was basically one of the many building blocks of the internet at this time. Because of this, Archie was only capable of searching for files. Web pages, as we understand them today, were not exactly a thing yet. But then, with this new technology, things started to quickly change. Despite a common misconception, Archie was not named after the Archie comics, but people didn't know that. So, other search engines popped up shortly after that were in fact named after Archie comic characters, like Veronica and Jughead. These search engines were made for another protocol known as Gopher, which was a popular directory system people used for the internet at the time. These search engines had a little bit more functionality. In addition to searching files, they allowed you to also search through Gopher menus and directories. Then in 1991, everything changes. The World Wide Web becomes public to the entire world. It is so innovative, well-designed, and easy to use, it puts clients like Gopher to shame. And so they died out. Rather than having to use Archie to search keywords for certain files within hundreds of directories, you could just click a hyperlink and download a file right away through something called a web page. Naturally, because all these search engines predated the World Wide Web and were not exactly well optimized for it, they quickly died out as well. But the objectives of their designs could be repurposed. Instead of files, newsgroups, and bulletin boards, what if we applied the same functionality to web pages? In 1993, JumpStation launches as a search tool that scrapes keywords from the titles and headings of websites. Very soon after, a new technology called a web crawler is introduced. These not only index the titles and headings, but every single bit of text on an entire web page. And so, of course, web crawler is released to the public in 1994, becoming the first of its kind. Now that this web crawling technology was finally discovered, it seemed that the whole search engine problem was solved, right? Ha, no. While this was an impressive technology for the time, it also created a lot of room for competition. Now, other search engines wanted to be just like WebCrawler, but even better. Alta Vista was designed to be much more user-friendly. It provides search tips, has much larger bandwidth, and uses a special technique called natural language search. Instead of just typing in individual keywords that you think might be relevant to your search, you can type it like a traditional question. On WebCrawler, you might write Korean restaurants, Burbank, California. It contains all the keywords necessary for your search query. With Alta Vista, however, you might write something like, what are the best Korean restaurants in Burbank, California? It was capable of filtering out interrogative words such as what and when, while still focusing on the keywords you provided. This was super important for people who were not experienced with computers, who were logging onto the internet, likely even for the first time. And then comes 1995, the year in which home computing exploded. Windows 95 made accessing the internet easier than ever before thanks to products like AOL, and so the web's population skyrocketed. While these search tools were handy, many newcomers may not even know where to start. How can you search for something on the web when you don't even know what to search for? Jerry Yang and David Filo create something called Yahoo, which was a website that included a hierarchical directory system. This meant that it included, on its homepage, a list of the most popular websites divided into categories for things like news, entertainment, games, etc. As long as you knew what yahoo.com was, you could start surfing the net in no time. While Yahoo had come out just the year before, it was certainly able to benefit from this explosion in online traffic in 1995. And when they added
Yahoo.
their own search engine that very same year, this only worked in their favor. Yahoo also benefited from just being more relatable and silly, which is most important for someone who is entering an unfamiliar domain like the World Wide Web for the very first time. Lycos would then appear, providing a much larger index of search results in faster amounts of time. By this time, search engines
Wait,
were
the page used to make that sound?
kind of popping up everywhere and sort of learning from each other and incorporating these same features. And so it became the new trend for search engines throughout the mid to late 90s to not focus as much on capability, but instead likability, which is what worked so much in Yahoo's favor. But the one issue for Yahoo was that the page was a little bit busy. With dial-up speeds, it can take quite a while for it to load. The website is great for visiting in moderation, especially when wanting to discover things blindly, but using it all the time wasn't the most convenient. How do we eliminate this problem, but still keep the lightheartedness of the website? Well, just ask Jeeves. This was essentially a search engine personified. Much like Alta Vista, it provided natural language searching, but it was also cute, fun, and quite minimalist. Because the page wasn't too busy, it loaded much faster than websites like Yahoo, which was a huge bonus back in the 90s. It was like having your own virtual assistant. It wasn't exactly better than these other search tools, but it was more memorable, and certainly more likable. This type of shift established a clear set of written rules that websites like Yahoo were useful for web exploration, and sites like Ask Jeeves were more useful for answering more niche, specific questions. At around this time, the popularity of search engines simply relied on the user's preference. Some people preferred Alta Vista because they had been using it longer, while others preferred Ask Jeeves because it was more fun. Now that the search engine realm was quite busy with all kinds of different tools, this soon started to create a very competitive space within the web. It became a sort of arms race for who can become the dominant go-to search tool. Examples of this included websites like Dogpile and Metacrawler, which basically just combined the indexes of other popular search engines like Yahoo and Alta Vista all into one. While this was very convenient for showing a lot of
Yahoo.
results for a search,
Yahoo Amari thanks you for the 22 months. Appreciate it.
These websites didn't own the indexes they were using, so they couldn't exactly control their algorithms and better refine these searches. Consequently, you often got a lot of redundancies within search results. But alas, it still got them decent traffic, and was a legitimate competitive technique for the time. And of course, you had Microsoft entering the picture with MSN Search. They were also facing a bit of controversy at this time, as they were being accused of obtaining competition through more forceful means. This was all during the famous Microsoft antitrust case, where the company was under fire for allegedly intentionally hurting web browser competition, such as Netscape.
Shady.
So that they could give Internet Explorer leading power on the Windows platform. So Microsoft also having a search engine at this time would be quite intimidating. Outside of exposure competition, there was monetary competition as well. Companies like GoTo.com introduced something called pay-per-click, where companies could pay to have priority in search results based on certain keywords that were used. Additionally, these engines then tried emulating the style of Yahoo, becoming portal websites that also included links of categorized websites, completely forgetting about what made them so special. By the late 1990s, search engines were not only much more homogenized, but they were also much less decentralized. Many results were biased and almost pay to win, and overly busy web pages slowed down performance. They had forgotten what their target audience was. Then in 1998, another search engine enters called Google. It was named after the very large number, Google, to represent the huge amounts of information it could scrape together. At its launch, search engines were a dime a dozen, and so it was
It's sad because if you search for something, you get like 5 paid pages. At the top of the list.
Now you
gotta scroll down to find what you're searching for.
it could scrape together. At its launch, search engines were a dime a dozen, and so it wasn't particularly seen as anything special. But Google, very subtly, did two things that would completely change the game and make them, by far, the most revolutionary search tool. At this time, the industry standard for search engines was to rank results based on popularity, relative to the keywords that were used. They would also often rank results based on the number of times that keyword appeared on web pages. For example, let's say you type in the search query for Pizza Hut. With this type of ranking system, the first results would be the pages that say the phrase Pizza Hut the most. This could lead to decent results, but this could also mean that an article about the best menu items at Pizza Hut could rank at the top. I mean, it almost certainly includes the term Pizza Hut more than the Pizza Hut website does, which is likely nothing more than just a basic web page. Popularity ranked results could solve this issue, but it also leads to security issues. It wasn't uncommon for scam impersonation websites to use bot clickers to create artificial traffic that raises them within the search results. What if instead there was a way to rank websites based on its actual quality and what people actually like? But of course, quality is subjective and entirely depends on the opinion of the individual. How do you turn qualitative data into quantitative data? Google was able to answer this question. They used a sort of referral ranking system. Instead of ranking words based on keywords or popularity, whatever website was linked the most from outside web pages would be at the top. In other words, pizzahut.com would be the first result on Google, because pizzahut.com was directly linked or recommended by other websites the most. Obviously, people searching for Pizza Hut were looking for the company website so they could order a pizza. So developing a very specific way of ranking based on quality websites through online recommendation yielded much more accurate results. As a cherry on top, Google was incredibly minimalist. It was just a search bar. So loading times were much faster, and people on the internet in 1999 were already much more used to it compared to 1994. So minimalism worked in their advantage, both technologically and culturally. It was also fun, colorful, a bit cheeky, and the name was easy to remember. Google came out with something genius at the perfect time, and it quickly went from a small fry search engine to exploding as one of the most popular websites on the whole internet. And its presence has only continued to.
What do you use to search? Incurious? I am curious? What your to-go browser? What's your to-go browser? I use Brave. And Google for search but with extensions so no ads. That's what I have. Chrome explodes your PC. Is not a good browser. I was thinking made a migration to Opera GX but something till now don't gets me to change. So I use Brave.
To grow at astronomical levels. And although search engines experienced a period of stagnation towards the end of the 90s, it is arguably what made Google popular in the first place. It was able to learn from these mistakes, take what was normal at the time, and figure out how to make it better, light years better. And over time, Google was able to enter other business ventures that would transform it into the online empire of the following decades. If you would like to learn more about Google's history, leave a like on this video and a comment down below letting me know. I have also talked about Google's acquisition of YouTube and the events leading up to it, which you can check out here. A special thanks to all my Patreon supporters and channel members down below, patreon.com/nationsquid.
Nice video. It is so strange that they went from being search engines to being advertisers' websites. Lol. More like an advertisement wiki. But yeah. Nice video, bro. That's the channel Nation Squid. No, this is sad AF for me.
Whenever a groundbreaking technology is discovered, our first instinct is to see how far it can go. Technology
Which Windows is this one? This one they had on school PCs. And I love it. The colors.
is discovered, our first instinct is to see how far it can go, and how it can serve the world to its maximum potential. Of course, the internet was certainly no exception. The technological feat of getting computers on other sides of the world to instantly communicate with one another was revolutionary
They don't
on its
make
own.
them like that
However,
anymore.
the online infrastructure of the 1990s focused on primitive means of communication, primarily just getting images and text to appear on a screen. It was suitable for its time, but quite limiting. The technology wasn't exactly there yet, but we knew things could go even further. Well, in 1996, the solution to this problem would appear in the form of a product that we know today as Flash Player, or later
Flash goatee.
Flash goatee.
would appear in the form of a product that we know today as Flash Player, or later on as Adobe Flash Player. You just download it to your computer, free of charge, and you could now see the internet as it was truly meant to be seen. Interactive websites, video games. In an abstract way, the World Wide Web just got so much more three-dimensional. Naturally, Flash Player became the standard for web browsing over the next decade, and for reasons we will explore in this video, met its timely death in 2020. But not only do I find the rise and fall
The day that happiness died.
met its timely death in 2020. But not only do I find the rise and fall of this beloved program interesting, but also the legacy it has left behind, or lack thereof. You see, the discontinuation of Flash has left a lot of old websites and online games completely dead. Yes, there are now Flash alternatives that have come in to pick up the pieces, but they are exactly that, just pieces. They still do run into many problems and often struggle to operate in the same way, and having this media move over to its successor, HTML5, just isn't that easy, and often requires rewriting a lot of resources. As a result, many Flash games and projects have now become lost media. A personal example of mine was Coraline.com. Back when the movie was first released in 2009, the Coraline website was a fully interactive other world full of games, scavenger hunts, even a photo editor where you could add buttons to your eyes. Sadly, its snapshots on the Wayback Machine are just not enough for the game to be perfectly emulated, and therefore, only the homepage exists. It is now lost. The reasons for this are technological as well as cultural. It's also that the internet collectively just doesn't really care for Flash media anymore, and you could argue that this transition is indicative of a new attitude the internet has developed. We've almost come full circle and that websites are returning to more static environments that prioritize communication over aesthetics. But it's also indirectly at the expense of preserving an entire era of online history. Because there is such a huge barrier to entry for Flash media to continue existing in the modern world, we are often unable to properly observe it in retrospect. It almost feels like a digital burning of a library, and I don't think it needs to be that way. So what is the story of Flash Player, and how can we keep it frozen in time rather than lost to it? We first have to understand what Flash Player's role was in the development of the internet. The internet as a whole is a very basic concept. It is a large number of computers that are all connected together so that they can, of course, all communicate to each other. But you must express this communication in a way humans can understand. Just like how the telegraph turned arbitrary pulses of electricity into Morse code, computers on a network do the same thing, but with binary. But the average Joe is not going to understand how to read binary or complicated computer code. Instead, this information should be expressed in a way that is clean, straightforward, and pretty to look at. So a man named Tim Berners-Lee creates something called the World Wide Web in 1990. And now these electrical signals can be expressed through a language called the Hypertext Markup Language, or HTML for short. Now text, hyperlinks, and even images are what you see when you go online. The internet just got so much more inclusive, and you see its popularity explode throughout the decade. As computer technology got better over the years, the demand for more internet functionality increased. Like sure, AOL.com does look all snazzy and colorful, and it's got all the buttons you need, but it feels a bit stiff, for lack of a better term. Perhaps if we could introduce some fluidity into the page. But aside from some cool-looking animations, HTML just wasn't advanced enough yet. The only way to create a website that was truly interactive, dynamic, was to create one that had an intimate connection with the computer's hardware, much like a computer program. But having one program for AOL, one for Yahoo, and another for Ask Jeeves all on your computer at once is a pain in the neck. Not to mention it would take up hard drive space. Instead, what if you only installed one program that acted as a browser extension that automatically supported all these websites and the unique environment and configurations that they each had? And so, on January 1st, 1996, what we recognize today as Flash Player
Second X Mass Day.
On January 1st, 1996, what we recognize today as Flash Player was released, specifically designed to answer this question. It was originally called Future Splash Player and was owned by Future Wave Software. Macromedia would acquire the product and rename it to, well, Flash Player. But the premise of the program was overall the same. As long as you had this program on your computer, you could now see and use the internet in a whole new way. Websites featured cool sound effects, sophisticated animations you could directly interact with, and even video support. Not only that, it supported multiple operating systems, and it was free. Thanks to Flash Player, it now felt like the only limitation to the internet was just the screen. So how does the program work? It's remarkably simple. A website would host something called a SWF file. This was a small file that contained graphics, animations, and any type of supported media, accompanied with instructions for the computer on how to show them. When a user visited this website, Flash Player would take this SWF file, read these instructions, and then show all these elements on the screen as it was intended. It essentially acted as an add-on to HTML to enhance the online experience. What was revolutionary was the fact that these SWF files were so small. This is because Flash Player primarily used vector graphics, which are images made up of colors and shapes, rather than bitmap ones which are made up of pre-defined pixels. Vectors have the advantage of not losing quality when they are upscaled, and they also take up less data than bitmap images do. Given that internet bandwidth in the 90s was very limited, this was a huge benefit for Flash Player and made using it so easy. So, Flash Player became super popular and basically dominated the internet over the next decade. Newgrounds, Poptropica, Club Penguin, iCarly, Total Jerkface, and even YouTube were all entirely Flash dependent, and included things like Easter eggs and even full-on video games. With Flash, you could create pretty much anything you wanted, and it could be argued that its presence was what created the very apparent customizability culture that existed in the 2000s and extended out into other forms.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Like CSS MySpace pages and YouTube channels. It was your whole entire personality on a web page. You could truly be you. But there was one big issue with all of this: security. For Flash Player to really have the versatility that it did, it also needed to have a lot of privileged access to your computer's system. After all, for Flash Player to operate to the best of its ability, it would first need to know what kind of hardware you're using and what kind of system configurations you have put in place, much like a computer program would. But you know what else behaves this way? Malware. While Flash Player has good intentions with what it does to deep parts of your system, nefarious users don't. Malware developers were soon discovering all kinds of exploits within the Flash program. And well, when you have the vast majority of internet users with this program on their computer, it is a recipe for disaster. Now you're probably wondering why they would design a program this haphazardly. Well, the answer, surprisingly, is that it was the 90s and people just didn't care that much about security. The creators of Flash just wanted a product out as soon as possible, before any possible competition could come in. It was almost like an arms race. They wanted something that could effectively work as it was intended to, and they took any means necessary to make that happen. And that included granting the program elevated privileges within the computer. It just wasn't designed with safety in mind, but it was suitable for the time. But as computer viruses started becoming very common throughout the 90s and 2000s, many of which even involved finding exploits within Flash, people became more aware of this issue. So naturally, Flash started becoming one of those programs that you would have to update like 3 times a week. And that got annoying. But because it was still, by far, the most capable thing of its time, it was a risk people were willing to take. Heck, in 2005, Adobe purchased Flash Player from Macromedia, and so it then became Adobe Flash Player. It was still very much popular and even omnipresent within the online space. In fact, you couldn't even use YouTube without it. Humanity has taught us that people don't really care about the risk of Trojan horses until one shows up on their computer. And this kind of devil-may-care mindset would ultimately catch up to them. Steve Jobs, in particular, despised Adobe Flash Player, and that alone essentially marked the beginning of the end for the program. You see, in 2007, a little thing called the iPhone was invented, and Jobs made sure that Flash Player didn't touch iOS with a 10-foot pole. In fact, he even wrote an open letter about his disdain for the product, which garnered
Lol. He went on a hate rampage.
In fact, he even wrote an open letter about his disdain for the product, which garnered a lot of controversy. One criticism he made was that Adobe Flash Player was proprietary, meaning that the quality of the product, all the patches and updates, were all fully in control by Adobe. They were the ones who called the shots at the end of the day. So the question was, why is pretty much the entirety of the internet being controlled by only one company? And according to Jobs, they weren't even doing a very good job at it, as the software company Symantec listed Flash as having one of the worst security records of 2009.
Damn. He basically called them incapacitated for their job.
Damn.
Damn.
This tea is getting wild.
they weren't even doing a very good job at it, as the software company Symantec listed Flash as having one of the worst security records of 2009. Although Flash Player was free, the tools for creating these Flash projects were not, which Adobe continued to provide as part of their own ecosystem even after acquiring it from Macromedia. So the prevalent argument at that time was, does Adobe truly have the best interests of the internet in mind? Or did they just want to make more money? Jobs also said that Flash was not touch-friendly. It was designed at a time where you could only click and drag with a mouse. Adobe started working on a smartphone-friendly version of the program, but it just never really took off at all. Jobs also cited Flash Player as being very draining on the iPhone's battery, among a bunch of other things. Instead, iPhone, iPads, and iPods used a newer video codec called H.264, and with all these websites having free app equivalents to them, mobile users were able to survive just fine without Flash Player. Jobs' letter was very controversial and led to a lot of drama between Adobe and Apple. Over the next decade, mobile devices and tablets would explode in popularity, even surpassing desktop and laptop PCs in terms of market share. So of course, the demand for Flash Player was dwindling. And then came the final nail in the coffin. Since the vulnerability issue with Flash Player wasn't exactly improving, even with all the continuous updates, all the world's leading tech companies decided to get together. They basically formed a committee that was going to create a technology for the internet that was even more capable than Flash Player and specifically had security in mind. This would be a markup language known as HTML5. It supported video, graphics, just about everything Flash could already do, but this time it was actually part of your web browser rather than being a third-party program installed on your computer. It was safer, faster, and even used less power. It also wasn't controlled by only one company. Instead, this committee pretty much democratically would vote on decisions that should or shouldn't be made for the language. Over time, websites started to ditch Adobe Flash Player in favor of HTML5. It was a rather slow death, but Flash Player would then lose all support and be shut down permanently on December 31st, 2020. But unfortunately, just switching over to HTML5 from Flash isn't as easy as it sounds, and is very case by case. So a lot of these websites died with it. Sure, there are emulators such as Ruffle that work pretty well, but it isn't perfect. Flash Player was proprietary after all. It's not going to get everything to work, and it often doesn't. Heck, there is even a website that hosts a download for the last version of Adobe Flash Player that you can install on your PC. But since this is now unsupported software, this isn't exactly safe, and unfortunately, you often still run into the same problem of just not getting these old web games to load. But if you dig deep enough into the page source of the website and download the SWF file from there and try running it directly from your computer, whether through Ruffle or this copy of Flash Player, that theoretically can work. But again, sometimes it just doesn't, and there could be a million reasons. The most prominent one that I've noticed is that archive sites such as the Wayback Machine doesn't always save everything. To go back to the Coraline.com example, it appears that the Wayback Machine has only saved certain snippets of this app. I can view the homepage just fine, exactly how it looked when I first saw it back in 2009, but I can't go beyond that. And the one Flash file that I did find didn't do anything when I tried to load it. Keep in mind, many Flash games used multiple SWF files, so if the archive didn't catch all of those, then the game is sadly gone forever. It is lost media. This is a technological issue as well as a preservation issue. The average person is not going to know how to go into the page source of a website and download the Flash files and manually load them on their computer. It's a bit much. So now you have this barrier to entry for the majority of online users who want to access old Flash games and websites for research or historical purposes. And like we said, the demand for keeping these sites around has gone down. Who is going to spend hours playing a Flash game for a cult movie from 2009? Well, except me, but a lot of people aren't. And with the rise of HTML5, mobile devices, and flat design, we are seeing the internet return to the minimalism approach, focusing less on aesthetics and more on just directly communicating what it's trying to say. And one of the consequences of that is these old Flash games not being archived properly. And truthfully, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. It kind of feels like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If you find out that the art museum has asbestos in the walls, well, you move those paintings into a new building that doesn't have asbestos. You don't just burn the whole art museum down. And I feel like we did that, just a little bit. Of course, Flash Player is a security risk, but I feel like we could have figured out some way to safely preserve these relics of the past, rather than just immediately flipping the switch off. That could be through reverse engineering certain Flash games that may not switch over to HTML5 as easily, and finding the reasons for why and resolving them. Or even through creating whole communities dedicated to finding and saving these games before they were lost entirely. Perhaps it's not too late, and we just have to keep looking, and we could at least save what we still do have. Because after all, progress involves observing things as they once were, and figuring out how we can do it better. But did you know that you don't need Adobe Flash Player to support me on Patreon? Patreon.com/NationSquid. Buying me a coffee also works too.
We are never getting those back. Sag. This was nice, I learn a lot. But yeah, I remember the Flash Death Day. It was everywhere. I played lots of Flash games in my school PC. So that was fun. Sadly, was the end of an era in the internet. GGS. But yeah, my brodas, I hope y'all enjoyed this vids and chit chat day. Thanks for being here with me and watch cool vids. I hope y'all enjoyed, as I did. Thanks again for being here. I wish y'all a nice start of the weekend. Yeah, we lose the way to make it work. But sadly, it is how it is. But yeah, my broda. I wish y'all a nice rest of the day or night. Takes lots of care. Drink water. Hydrate. And please, if you can donate plasma. Thanks y'all so much for being here again. I will call tomorrow as mom allows. I will stream tomorrow as mom allows me. That being said, wish me luck today. I have an adventure to the vest. I hope it helps me with mucosity. So everything is gonna be better. I have been feeling bruh cause mucosity I don't let me breath. It don't let me. So we gotta do something. That being said, take lots of care.
バイバイチャットさん。テイクケア。ドリンクワタ。バイバイ。バイバイ。バイバイ王子さん。